So as Ellie said, I'm Helen Beckett. I'm the Collections and Exhibitions Manager here at Touchstones, which is the local museum and art gallery in Rochdale, which is a borough of Greater Manchester. For a long time now, we've been working with our communities on co-curation and partnership-led projects. However, last year our building closed and our staff team got bigger, which gave us a really good opportunity to think more about how we can develop the collections moving forward. I think like a lot of sort of museums, our collection as it is at the moment isn't completely representative of our diverse community. So we're always looking for ways to make sure that people feel represented and included in what we do. We've never had sort of like an active collecting approach in the past, mainly because our team has been so small. However, working so closely with different communities in the borough and having a bigger team now has given us a wonderful opportunity to talk to them more about collecting and representation within Touchstones. So in February, we invited applications from people in the borough, local communities, to join our collections development panel. So up until recently, the panel was made up of staff who met on a regular basis to make decisions on donations, acquisitions and disposals around our collections. But by inviting 6 people from the local community to join us, we've hoped to make our collecting process more transparent and democratic. At the end of the day, the collection is publicly owned by the people of Rochdale, so it seems only fair that they have the opportunity to take part in the decision making and discussions around the collection's development. We've had 4 meetings so far, and it's been really invaluable from our perspective as an organisation in understanding more about expectations in the local community around our collections. We've got a really diverse group of people who've joined us from the South Asian community, the local African community and LGBTQ plus people. And their enthusiasm and way of thinking about collections, which is a lot different from the way that museum professionals think about collections, is really helpful for us as staff to better understand what our local community expect from us as a collecting organisation. As a result of this, we've had a number of donations both from panel members and other community members who've been involved in making our collections more representative. How do I? So, for example, these are some pieces from a 50-piece Indian tea set that we were donated recently from a local woman whose mum had bought it in India in the 50s, and through conversations with us about collections and why we collect, she realised that she wanted us to have it, which was great, and it's become a really lovely part of our collection now. Perhaps most useful for us as museum staff have been the conversations with our panel members about collecting and why we do it. I think we quite often assume that people understand what museums are and what we do when we work in cultural heritage institutions. However, from discussions with panel members, it became very apparent that a lot of different cultures and people within our local community don't visit museums, they don't really understand what museums are for, or they have a very sort of negative perception of what we do based on what's happened historically. So this has made us rethink how we talk about collections and take that conversation back to the very beginning with people and not assume that people know what we do and what our collections are for. We're also in the process of working with our panel members to develop a workshop that we can take out to different community groups to have these conversations with people. And why it's important that we collect from people now so that that representation is there into the future. It's obvious to us now that this needs to happen before we can even begin to actually collect from people. They need that understanding and knowledge and trust, I suppose, in us as an organisation before they even think about entrusting us with their objects. We also have plans to develop like a programme of events and training with our panel group, particularly around oral history training, so that they can go out and collect stories from our local community and be really involved in the whole collecting process. So I've just got one slide to finish, and it's a picture of members of our panel looking at donations from our last panel meeting. Yeah, but thank you for letting me speak. And if anyone's doing sort of a similar project, it would be great to talk about how your experience is going with it. Thank you, Ellie.